There's a lot of bad advice out there about screenwriting, and it's not that it sets out to be bad advice. In fact, much of it is given with good intentions, but it's still bad. So what I want to do is I want to give you 5 pieces of the best advice that I can give you. This is the advice I wish I would have had when I was learning the craft. And these 5 things are going to help you with things like what to write, how to write, and the last one is about your health as a screenwriter. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it, so you might want to strap in. Best advice number 1, write stuff that could sell. Now, I'm not talking about writing stuff you think will sell or even writing stuff that you want to sell. All of us want to sell our scripts, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that once you're writing your 3rd or 4th script, before you write any of it, you should have a pretty good idea if you're going to be able to grab someone's attention with the premise, with the logline, with the title. Would they even be interested? Because if you can't figure that out before you start writing, you're probably going to be wasting your time writing the script. But Jake, how am I supposed to know what someone could buy? Well, this is where you have to become a student of the craft. If you want to find success as a screenwriter, you've got to be a student of the craft. And it's not just about learning story and storytelling. And you should definitely be learning about everything in each of those 2 buckets because you will not have success if you don't. But you also have to learn about marketing and script development and how deals are made and what are the roles and the players involved. And if you don't understand the process, you're going to be guessing whether or not the ideas you come up with could sell. So you have to be a student of the craft. That's a must. And then you'll start to notice patterns. Which production houses and producers like what types of movies, in what budget range, and in what locations. You're going to start to figure that out. And you'll be able to begin discerning whether your idea would fit into their parameters. But it's not just one production company, it's several. Can you find several places that might be interested in your ideas that you are about to write? Because if you can only find 2 or 3 places that might be interested in this great idea you have, I'm sorry, that's not enough. In fact, if you can't find at least 10 places that might be interested, your idea isn't good enough yet. Because your script may turn out great, that might be true. But if you've only got 1 or 2 people who could buy it, what happens when none of them buy it? Yeah, you just wasted your time. I don't want you to waste your time. Write only the stuff that could sell. This means no fan fiction. This means no knockoffs of existing properties. It has to feel fresh and new and exciting. But that gives us kind of this last little component of this advice. Don't forget that you're writing scripts to be read, not shot. Your first readers are readers. You have to write a script that's meant to be read first. That means your screenplay serves a few functions. It's a demonstration of your skill and talent. It's a solid representation of your voice and your ability to craft a compelling story. And at the same time, if someone really loves it, it could sell. Doesn't mean it will, but it means it could. In fact, most writers, when they're breaking in, they rarely sell their break-in script. They might, it happens, but more often than not, people read the script and they love something about it enough to want to meet with the writer, and if they like you and they think they can work with you, they'll reach out with a, well, we have an idea that we'd like to get your take on it, kind of a call. And that has a good chance of turning into a paying job. Not because you sold that initial script, but because it was solid enough that people believed it could sell. So they are willing to hire you to write another movie that they are convinced will get made. So don't waste your time on projects that have 0 chance of selling. You're just delaying how long it's going to take you to find success. Okay, the rest of these pieces of advice will not take as long to explain. Best advice number 2, write stuff you want to see. The reason for this one, and it might seem contradictory to the advice I just gave you, but it isn't. If you're writing stuff that you want to see on the big screen, it does a couple of things for you. It helps you tap into your true writing voice as you write. It helps you stay motivated to work on the script, and it helps you stay focused and not let the story wander all over the place. In other words, it helps you put your butt in the chair and write. If you want to find professional success as a screenwriter, then you have to treat screenwriting like a profession. It's a job. Jobs have work hours and deadlines and things you have to do even if you don't want to do them. And until someone is paying you money, and frankly, even if they are paying you money, you still have to find something that you love about the story that you're writing. And if you love it so much that you desperately want to see it on the screen, it amps up your work ethic and it ensures that you're moving toward that goal that you're chasing. So if you're writing something that you have no interest in seeing on the big screen, you're wasting your time. Find a new idea or find a reason to love it. Best advice number 3, don't chase trends. It takes a long time from the initial writing of the script to the actual film being at the theater or on the streaming service. A long time, minimum 1 year. And that's for a low budget, small production with a guaranteed distribution outlet. That timeline for most things is more like 2 to 3 years. And how long do trends last? Yeah, not that long. So all of a sudden movies about fighter planes are popular. And if you sat down to write one today, and let's say you caught lightning in a bottle and were able to crank out a draft in a couple of weeks that was solid and someone was interested in buying, again, because you're writing something you want to see and you're writing something that could sell, even if you sold it within the next month, it'd be 2 years before principal photography was even concluded. And then there's probably 6 to 12 months in post-production. And by then, everyone's gonna be sick of plane movies, and producers know this. So the script has a very small chance of getting bought. And even if it does get bought, it's probably not going to get made. But the thing about trends is they often come back around every so often. So don't chase a trend. You'll always be behind. Write stuff you want to see, write stuff that could sell, and that script that you write may not sell, but it could get you a writing assignment. And that could lead to another and another. And then someone asks you if you've ever sold that first script, because they'd like to read it. Things in Hollywood are cyclical. They come back around after a while, so be patient and don't chase a trend. Best advice number 4, and this one's gonna hurt. It doesn't matter if you like the script that you write. It matters if the reader likes it. The type of screenwriter that Hollywood runs away from faster than anything is a screenwriter who thinks that their script is awesome even when everyone else is telling them that it isn't. And most writers in this camp will say things like, they just don't get my genius, or they don't realize this is the next blockbuster, or they'll be sorry. Nope, no one cares about how much you love your screenplay. It matters how much the reader loves it. Screenwriting is all about the emotional experience of the audience, of the readers who will read your script. And if you aren't connecting with the readers, they know the story won't connect with other people either, and they're done. And just saying, well, they just don't get my genius, all that does is announce to everyone that you are out of touch as a screenwriter, and no one will want to work with you if they get an inkling that you're like that. If you think your stuff is genius, and it might be, then spend the money and make it yourself. But don't expect someone else to fork over millions of dollars to buy and make your script into a movie when they didn't emotionally respond to the screenplay in the first place. Any screenwriter who isn't concerned about how the audience will respond to the story is a screenwriter who isn't doing their job. Your job is to emotionally connect with the audience, and their opinion matters a whole lot more than yours does. Best advice number 5, take breaks. Yes, you should treat screenwriting like a job, but most jobs encourage you to take vacations, to take breaks, even if it's just the weekend or a few days, and writing is no different. When I started learning the craft, I always heard the write every day mantra, which isn't true, by the way, and doesn't really mean what you think it means. But no one ever said, take a break. Every creative endeavor requires breaks. You have to refuel, and if you're constantly going, you don't get a chance to refuel. But it's more than that. We are living life. And if you want to be a good writer, you first have to live your life. That means all the good stuff along with all the challenges. When you walk down the street or drive in your car, ride on the bus or whatever, you see a lot of people. And just looking at them, you have no idea what they're dealing with. You have no idea if they're having the best day of their life or if their life is in pieces and they're struggling to hold on to that one piece that matters most. And you can't write stories unless you're living life and experiencing those ups and downs for yourself. So you need breaks. You need time to process those ups and downs. And sometimes that means having some of those mountaintop experiences. Sometimes that means having to figure out how you're going to be able to get one foot in front of the other in the valley of the shadow of death that you're walking in. And you need breaks from writing to experience and process both of those extremes and everything in between. And I'm going to lead by example here. I love creating videos and resources to help you learn the craft of screenwriting. I work to get a video up once a week because I know it's helpful or encouraging or both for many of you. Many people mention that in the comments and I love that, so please don't forget to interact in that way. And it's fun for me to make videos and do all this stuff. I'm looking forward to doing it for a very long time. I have no intention of stopping, but I am going to take a break for the rest of 2022. And what if you did too? What if you just put a pin in whatever script you're working on and took a break until January? Refuel. refill the tank, go live life, be with friends, enjoy the holiday season, do something fun, go somewhere you haven't been, or sit with someone who is hurting. Or if you're hurting, allow others to sit with you. Personally, my break is a result of several things, including the I need to take breaks part, but I'm going to mention two other big ones, the second of which is much bigger and much more important to me than the first. But that doesn't mean the first one isn't important, because I'm making some tweaks and adjustments to my screenwriting coaching, which I call the Navigator. And I'll give you more information about that in the new year, but I'm excited about the modifications that I'm making to help make that even better for you if you want to work with me directly and with other like-minded screenwriters about the process of writing screenplays. And I could go on about the tweaks and changes I'm trying to do to that just to make it even better. But one of the reasons for my break is to spend some time to make those modifications, or at least to hopefully allow me some time to make those modifications. But the time I have to do that is dependent upon my second big reason for taking a break, which is honestly a lot more difficult. Some of you who've been around for a long time may remember this. I've mentioned it before, but not too often, in part because it's personal and honestly a little painful, and it doesn't really have much to do with screenwriting. It has to do with my personal life. Nearly 6 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with a very aggressive type of cancer. 50% of people diagnosed with it don't live longer than 3 years after diagnosis, and now we're almost 6 years in. So we've had almost 3 years of bonus time that we didn't think we would have. She's been through biochemotherapy, which is just a fancy way of saying chemo that sucks even more than regular chemo. She's been through several immunotherapy treatments and multiple surgeries on top of that. But we are seemingly in the final weeks and maybe days. And I'm also taking a break so I can spend every moment I can with her, my best friend and my wife for 28 years. So I'm taking the time for me. So in your break, hug on the people who are in your life and who you love. Spend time with them, cherish them, savor every moment, and let that fill you. And when you return to storytelling in January of 2023, we will have some new experiences. Some good, some not so good. But those experiences will help shape us into better storytellers. And who knows, maybe in the midst of your break, you're going to come up with a great idea for a screenplay, one that could sell, one that would be a movie that you'd want to see, one that isn't chasing trends, and one that any reader will emotionally respond to. And if you need a bit more of a primer on what makes for a good idea, this may help. If you found value, comment about what was helpful. Don't forget about all the fun buttons below. Enjoy your break, and when you get back to telling stories, tell a story that matters. See you next year.